Okay, I think we can start. We will admit progressively everyone who is joining the meeting today. Um, I would like to say a few words before we start with the content. Let me present myself. I'm Cvetanka from CoBuilder marketing team, and we are organizing today's webinar. We have chosen the topic of improving data management for the built environment, as we would like to enter in more detailed and practical examples of the defined data dictionary that you may have heard of already, or you're completely new. We have taken care of explaining it for everyone to be on the same line. And before I start with presenting our speakers today, I would like to invite you to write your questions in the chat during the webinar itself, and we will also have a Q&A session during which you can also use the raise your hand option of Teams, so you can participate by voice in the discussion thanks to Teams possibilities. So we are admitting one more, and let me continue with presenting very briefly our speakers. So today we have with us Anna Rigi from Building Smart, Paweł Gorski from Xela, Poland as well, and from CoBuilder side we have with us Georgi Stoyanov and Nikolai Hale. Nikolai Hale will take over the next slides, and he will present to you more in detail the CoBuilder, the defined functionalities. But before we start with the content itself, I would like to invite Anna and Pavel to talk a little bit about their presence today, and later on our colleagues. Please, Anna.
Okay, thank you. Hello, and thank you to my colleague from Builder for inviting me. Just a few words about me. My name is Anna Rydza, and I am Operations Director at Building Smart Poland. Our core activity is based on the work of working groups within the technical rooms, dealing with different topics. Of course, in the context of open BIM, open standards, and open collaboration. These include a product room and construction room, whose active participant is Paweł Górski, who is with us today. He is from Xela, Poland, from our corporate member, and I think he will say some words about these rooms. I think this meeting today, we can say that it is in some way a continuation of our product room open meeting, which took place last October at Warsaw University of Technology, during which we hosted Lars Fredenlund, CEO and co-founder of CoBuilder. And then we could listen to what data templates, what data dictionary are, and discuss a common language for the construction industry. Just to mention that it was product room decision to join CCI collaboration, which is trying to develop a new classification on for the European market. So I'm really pleased. I'm looking forward to see how data templates, how defined data dictionary work in practice. And I know it's possible partly thanks to Paweł, who I'm happy to give the floor to.
Okay, thanks, Ania. Yes, I'm the BIM manager in Xela Poland here, and we've been working closely with Building Smart in Poland with the many companies, as we see the lack of standards in general, BIM standards in Poland, as a major obstacle to bigger adoption of the BIM. That's why we have a couple of rooms, technical rooms, when we're working on the structure of the IFC, export of IFC models, or, for example, as Anna mentioned, a classification of models. This way, we want to help get the market on a higher level. And I think like also managing the data in the all the products that we have in the BIM models is the next step too. That's why we also get in contact with CoBuilder, and I'm also interested to see how, based on our products, on Excel products, we're going to see the defined data dictionary in action. So that's it for me. Thanks, and giving it back.
Hello all for me. My name is Georgi Stoyanov. I'm a project manager in CoBuilder, and I've been part of the CoBuilder family for the last 5 years now. I'm experienced in working in CoBuilder Define, so this is what I'm going to be showing you in a bit more, and how data dictionary is used in practice. So Nikolai, to you.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Nikolai Halle. I'm working on the commercial side of CoBuilder. So my background is from different IT companies and also global brands within different industries. The years before I arrived here, I was at the manufacturing side of construction for the eTex group. But now I'm here with CoBuilder. And for those of you who don't know, CoBuilder is a Norwegian company headquartered in Oslo with subsidiaries in UK, in France and Bulgaria. And CoBuilder have been an active member and a partner for Building Smart, and have been working with Building Smart on the International Dictionary for many years. So we work with the standards as a basis of data management. So the standards is not a goal for what we are doing, but the common language that is to be used is actually already existing within regulations, technical specifications, and standards. So what we do basically together within the industry is to facilitate the digitalization of this language, so it can be used in the collaboration of all the actors in the construction environment. So many is not aware, but it's actually such standards that make it possible to book a flight, to book a hotel, use a GPS, send an image, and so on. So the standard is basically the recipe enabling things to work. And that's what we need in our industry as well. So this year we actually celebrate a 5-year anniversary for the McKinsey Global Institute report. It was called Reinventing Construction, A Route to Higher Productivity. It came out in 2017. And this is a report that clearly states 6 fundamental reasons for the construction industry's low productivity growth. And it also identifies 7 concrete suggestions on how the industry actors may increase their productivity by as much as 50 to 60%. So not to start a huge debate on this, but I will argue that 5 of these have a direct link to the industry's way of managing data. So the point is not if it's 4, 5, or 6 of these solutions, but the fact that managing data is key to move the industry forward and to close the productivity gap versus other industries. Which brings us to the topic of today. It's how we will use Define to manage data for the built environment. So I will start up with some theory on the basics behind the Define tool, and I will try to illustrate this with some real-life examples. I'll try not to use too much time because I know you all are excited to see what we've done for Excel later on. So bear with me. Yeah, just to start on the very basics. I mean, a dictionary, what's that? If you Google a dictionary, you will see the definition on the top of the screen here. This may seem very basic, but if you think about it, it serves as the basis for people to communicate with one another. And in our construction environment, this dictionary is defined by European and global standards, which make sure we are talking about the same things. So a data dictionary then is where you can store and standardize the information you need when you work. So it should be used to help you in your daily work to structure and standardize your information or your data in order for you to be able to reuse the data. And it also opens the possibility for the translation of it of the data to any language. So the fine data dictionary is in compliance with the ISO 12006/3 standard, which basically is a standard that defines how to develop a data dictionary. And given the fact that this is a global standard, it makes sure that we are talking about the same things, and then ensures that the organizations can use the same terms and definitions. So with this in place, we have a common language, which is both machine readable, human readable, and you can structure the information you need based on what you want to solve. So you can model the information, to put it short. And then that brings us over to a data template. So a data template is helping you to structure the information needed depending on your use case. What do you want to solve? So you have the dictionary itself and then the data template where you can model your information. And so the content of a data template is different properties. And you see example of this on the screen. So it's a lot of things. It's warranty time, it's color, it's reaction to fire. So it's a lot of different properties, and those properties comes from different sources. So you have legal properties, you have those coming from the standards already mentioned. You have some industry recognized requirements, and you may have some user specific requirements. So all these sources is providing the content in a data template, which then is a tool to describe a specific construction object with properties. So a property is not only environmental or only technical. So a data template can hold data for cost, for footprint, for facility management, design requirements. It can hold data for a lot of things. And then if you imagine an API integration to a data template, you can basically gather the exact information you need for whatever you want to build. So by this, and any concept or logic can be implemented in any software. And this opens up great possibilities if you think about it. Then you have access to trusted, agreed data in a language both machines and humans understand. And you can pick up and choose the data you need in your chosen context. And the context can be inside your own company, it can be within the industry, in Poland, in Europe, globally. It's endless possibilities. So then, of course, you might ask why can't we just use IFC to solve everything we're talking about here? And IFC is a great language for modeling and for software, but IFC defines properties in an IFC language. Revit defines properties in a Revit language, and Trimble defines properties in a Trimble language, and so on. So the reality is what you see on the left side of the screen here. And if you think about it, how can a computer understand that all these words for heat transmittance is the same? It doesn't. And then you might think that we can just map the different wording in a dictionary and then everything is solved. But that does not really help when it's 5 different ways of testing the value and you need to choose one. So the reality is that we have a gap between IFC used in the geometry and the products produced at the manufacturers. But not everybody is aware that in fact there's a test standard for fire, for instance. And if you call that IFC fire, it can be a lot of things. But if you refer to the test method, it's documented what fire characteristics the objects do have. So it removes the uncertainty and the cause for misunderstanding and miscommunication throughout the value chain. So when adding this complexity to it, it's obvious that we need some kind of connector between the design elements and the specific products. And there's where the standards come into play and make sure that the properties in a data template is both machine readable, human readable, and serves as the common language our industry and the entire value chain can use and trust. So in other words, when we define a property using a data dictionary, you can map to all the others, also IFC. Or you can use it as it is because it is agreed by all parties. So we could say that define and the data template serves as the connector between generic design and a product. It is a structured way of identifying information exchange using structured data and a use case. Who needs which data when? So that was kind of the theory behind it. And to try to show a bit in real life what we are doing, couple of examples coming now. So Molio is the organization for the construction industry in Denmark. And they realized the need for a common digital language that enables information to flow between all the actors, the entire industry. In order to do so, they wanted to create a Danish context that is agreed, and therefore they had gathered the industry actors. They made them come together to create a context and different purposes. And then in order to get the industry to use this language, they want to make this context and the data templates available through a public view page and through an API for software providers to connect to and use in their solutions and their software. So yeah, a context, just to explain that, it's a kind of independent space for concepts in define. So multiple contexts can exist at the same time, and each client has their own context where they create their concepts. And context can share concepts between one another. Yeah, might be a bit theoretical here, but point is that this enables the data to be interoperable. So how do Molio and the Danish industry do this? I'm not sure about the number, but I think they have about 20 people now involved in defining the content of the Danish data dictionary and to create the standardized properties so the industry can use the Danish context over and over again. And that's important, over and over again. The data is reusable and you can take it to court because it is industry agreed language. So there's a specific process when you develop content or use the content in a dictionary. And this is where we sorry. This is where we describe all the content by using attributes. Examples could be who's the author, when was it developed, what is the reference document, what's the description, so we know more than a name. So this is part of the work that the domain expert is doing. So to write data to the dictionary, it has to be in English, that's for sure. And then the name of the property, that's the starting point. And then you describe it. What is it? Then you make a reference if there is a reference document. And then automatically you get some dates, you get a GUID, an identifier. And you send it to the domain expert. So they gather information from different sources, and domain expert is verifying each type of information. They compare it and they publish it in the data dictionary. And then we know that the data is correct. So we have to stress that data governance made by the domain expert is crucial to avoid duplicates and to secure that data is trustworthy. So on the slide, source A, B, and C is going through the same process, and the domain expert is approving it after checking it and make sure that it doesn't already exist. So this might seem a bit too detailed, but the point is that the Danish industry actors have sat down to model all the information around a different object as an industry, and the result will be a trustworthy content and a common digital language. And also by showing this process, I want to show that it's actually a job that needs to be done. You cannot just push the button at this point. You need actually to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty to make this work. Another example is NCC. NCC is contractor doing business in 4 countries across the Nordic, and I think about 3 years ago they realized that they had an enormous number of standalone systems that they had to relate to when they were building. And those systems use their own terms, their own wordings, their own definitions. And this in fact led to very much manual work, increased administration cost, and lower efficiency. Actually, a lot of the same reasons that the McKinsey report were pointing at. So NCC identified the need to improve accuracy and efficiency in all their business processes throughout the development of their construction projects. And to achieve this, NCC set out to streamline the exchange and management of information across their entire organization, including also external stakeholders. So NCC is establishing a construction elements database that will be used as a data repository across the 4 Nordic countries, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and Finland, in order to facilitate planning, procurement, calculation, cost control, production steering, health and safety, and facility management. So through the defined tool, NCC is developing data templates for products, for materials, and for systems. Not only products, also materials and systems. So we're talking about a data template, not a product data template here. And these data templates, they will be used across the organization to capture, exchange, store, and reuse the data in the project. So to try to illustrate how NCC is using the data templates, they made this flower, you can say, which shows their common platform to define construction objects so that they can do calculation, purchasing, facility management, know the carbon footprint, and so on. They also included the end-of-life perspective to it, with a purpose of reuse of material. So they wanted to standardize construction objects, so when they talk about a window, for instance, they want to calculate the cost. What's the price of the window? They want to buy the window. They want to do facility management on the window, and they want to know the carbon footprint on the window. So they want all of this, not only design and installation, the whole process. So NCC needs to structure information for a window in Finland, in Denmark, in Sweden, in Norway. And now they find a way of doing that. So quantities is actually taken from an IFC file, the number of windows. And then they are using the dictionary to develop data templates based on purposes. The purpose of sustainability, the purpose of facility management, and so on. So, sorry. So what data is needed for the different purposes for a window? That's kind of where they started. And then they have standardized this for the 4 countries, and they have created an information exchange between NCC and their supply chain. Again, linking design to manufacturing. So this is an example of the use of the data templates within the whole business process of a company. The data templates holds the information for the need for each stage and each department that is working with this type of information. So when real data is in the digital world, it opens great opportunities. And with interoperable data in the center of your business, you are able to define what data is needed at what time. And then you can actually automate your whole building process. I see the time is running, but we will mention Sebois at the end here. So Sebois is promoting the interest of the European wood sector, and it also contributes to the EU policymaking process. They represent 21 European and national organizations and more than 180,000 companies. So Sebois, they had a need to automate the information flow for its members, for 180,000 companies. So what they have done is that they have developed 12 standards-based data templates and made them available for the market. It's actually already available on their website if you check it out. And through this, they are given the European market access to digital product data, machine and human readable and interoperable with other systems in the construction industry. So by this, the wood industry in Europe can monitor and validate product data and its quality. They can perform quality assessment and compliance checks against technical, environmental, and safety regulations. So already now there are initiatives in other countries that want to use the data templates from Sebois in their own context. And there are lots of initiatives coming, and some of them are now waiting just for the API integration to the Sebois work to be released. And then they will start to use the data templates from Sebois in their own context and projects. So to try to conclude very quickly, all industry trends that will impact organizations across the sector are centered around data. So product data is not only the core of all business processes, but it's also the fuel that drives the digital transformation. The free flow of standardized, reliable digital data enables better collaboration, streamlined processes, automation, and last but not least, efficient management of environmental requirements in projects. So with this, I will say thank you for listening to me, and I will give the screen and the word to Georgi. We'll show you a demonstration of how we have started working with Excella in Poland.
Thank you, Nikolai. So before I begin my demonstration of defining how what Nikolai described just a moment ago in practice, I want to show you actually one picture just for your better understanding. This is the structure of the data template, which is based on ISO 23387. One of the crucial standards we step on, like Nikolai described earlier. So what is the data template actually? It is an item which is representing the collection of properties for a construction object. So in this diagram, you can see actually how data template is connected to a construction object. The data template gets characteristics called properties that carry attributes with it. So property has a physical quantity or measure, which carries units in its units. Also, if the standard states, there can be enumerated values like classes, for example. Properties are grouped into group of properties for easier management. And last but not least, we have the reference document attached to it. So getting this aside, now I will show you how all of this looks in the system. Maybe to begin with, we have to say a few words about the users in Define. So we have mainly three users. The basic user, which is, or a contributor, which can have read and write access to the system, but he is not part of the auditing process. So then we have the data auditor or the domain expert, who is part of this auditing process. He can read, write data, but he can approve also what has been created as concepts in the system. And we have the admin user, who can actually do everything in the system, including sharing this information between contexts, like Nikolai mentioned. This is kind of apart from how information in the data dictionary is transferred into other places so that it can be used outside of data silos. Now, when you are logged into the systems, first thing you will see is the dashboard. The dashboard gives you information about your recent work, what you've been up to, what has been approved as concepts, what has been returned or rejected. So again, this is part of our auditing process or the approval process. So you have the knowledge on what has been approved. So this can be created as concept in the context, what has additional things to work on, and what has been rejected, so it cannot exist in the system. This is kind of our way to delete stuff, but since we're keeping a history of all of the concepts creating in the system, we do not allow deletions. Now, on the left-hand side, you'll see the menu showing all the building blocks of a template. Now, we have the construction object. The construction object is an item representing a physical asset of any construction product, system, building, you name it. Then we have the properties. The properties, as mentioned, are a representation of characteristics that are describing the template or the construction object. They can be grouped into group of properties, which are very easily used to manage a large number of different characteristics of properties. Then we have measures, or these are the physical quantities that are attached to a property. This is something part of the property. Physical quantities can be such as time, mass, length, you name it. So every physical quantity carries a unit to represent it. So we have millimeters, we have kilograms, etc. And we can have values, like I mentioned, for example, a class coming from a document. The document in define is a representation of the actual document. It's not a PDF file, for example, attached to it. Only representation. So how a template looks like when you have created all of the building blocks in it. So we have built a data template now for calcium silicate masonry unit. When I open the data template, I want to focus your attention first at the 4 icons on the right. So what we can do in this screen, we can compare with another template. As you see, this is version 0.2.2 of the data template. Every new change that is done to the data template is a new version of it. So we have track of all of the versionings that have been previously created. We have traceability of who has created it, when, and why. So in the compare with another template, you will actually be able to compare it with previous versions of this template or with another template itself. This is available for all other concepts as well. You have export in Excel. So this is something that you can do with your already built data template. You can create a new version of the data template, as I mentioned, and create a copy of this existing one. This is handy when you are building something pretty similar to what you have built so far. So you won't be starting from scratch when you're creating a concept itself. So getting into the details of a data template. So first we have the description, the full name and the technical definitions with all of their translations. So full name and technical definitions are coming from the reference standard. We're focusing on this so that we're taking all of the information from the standard. But you also have the possibility to attach a short name or symbol, user definition, and an example, since not always the standard is recognized from the industry itself. So it's a nice addition to have an additional explanation on what your data template will be all about. Then we have the attributes. The first one is the domain, which is the important part here where we talk about auditing and approval process. This is because in the domain we have all the experts or the authority that will going to be approving what you have created as a concept, not only as a data template, but as any building block of the data template as a property or a measure. So every concept in the system will be attached to a domain, and then this domain, in this case construction domain, will be in charge of approving this concept later on. Then we have the countries of use, which actually shows where this data template or concept will be applicable to. We have the construction object, and the construction object, there is a detail here to say, so a data template can have only one construction object, but a construction object can have more than one data template. So you can build more than one data template based on calcium silicate masonry unit based on your needs. Required approvals means that currently in this domain construction, when something is created and attached to this domain to be approved of, it requires one approval so that can be approved and existing in the data dictionary. There can be more than one approval, but there cannot be zero approval. Everything that has been created must be part of this approval process. We have information of the creator. We have information of the context that has been created in, who owns this concept that has been created, and last but not least, we have the GUID. So the GUID, like Nikolai said, this is the important part where we talk about machine readability and automation, because this is what the machine understands, as you and me understand only this. So to have this kind of interconnected language, we need to have GUID. So every concept in Define has a unique identifier. We're talking about measures, units, you name it. Moving to the group of properties, as I mentioned, this is a easy way to group a large number of properties. So now we have created 3 groupings. This is a grouping that dictates that properties inside it are coming from the standard. We can have environmental properties grouping. We have some general properties grouping that can be storing information or properties regarding market need. We can also have additional groupings. For example, if you have declaration of performance needs, we can create a different grouping right here, and you can store all of the properties that are needed. But if I open a group of properties, I'm able to see all of the properties that have been attached to them. You will see that some are bolded, some are not. This is because properties are separated into 2, let's say, classes. We have specific properties that are corresponding to a specific test method in a standard, and we have generic property, which is actually not stated into a specific standard or a test, but kind of combines those specific properties under one cap. Then into the properties view, I can have a detailed view of my properties. I can filter them by the different groups I have managed to group them by. I can open and see each and every one of those. What are their characteristics? What are their description and full name, units, and so on. I can see if there are attached values or dependencies with other properties right here in this view. We have the classifications next. This is we try to connect all of our construction objects when we build them to a certain classification or classifications based on the industry need. Since we understood that the industry recognizes and works with those classifications, we want that the data dictionary can be linked to those classifications. And last but not least, it is the document. The document, as I mentioned, this is a representation of the actual standard. You can see that there are kinds of types of the document. It can be harmonized or standard document. And it states that this data template is actually built upon this document. So we have built our data template, but what can we actually do with it? Like I mentioned, now I can export it in Excel and distribute it to whoever I want. Another option you have is to have a public page where where this data template can be embedded in your website, and everyone who goes into the website can view it. You can download it or have any comments on it. And a third option can be an API. So Define can be integrated with other internal systems via templates API. So this can be used as a structure of your PIM system, for example, and so on. Another option actually to use the data templates is using one of our other programs. This is called GoBIM. And what we did now with Sela is to create a product for Silica Tempo based on the data template I just showed you. So all of the information right now is coming from the data template in Define. As you can see, it's in Polish because the data template was translated into the Polish language. And now we are building the so-called product data sheet. Now, since the Define is giving you all of the structure, here it is, the property, the test method, and the unit. Now here you can have you have the option to actually create to add some value to all of the properties and filling in all of the product information that you need by creating a product data sheet. The product data sheet, again, can be filtered here based on the group of properties we inputted into Define. It inherits all the classifications that we created here. The documents can be attached like technical data sheet or environmental data declaration or DOP, name it. You can attach BIM files, or if this is part of a larger, if this is a sim system you build, you can have components attached to it as well. What you can do with this product now is, again, you can extract it via export it via Excel format. You can export it into PDF. You can have it into a Revit model attached to an actual model. And again, you can use an API that can automatically extract information from here. That's it from me. I guess we can move on to question and answers. I think you have a lot of them, I guess.
Thank you, Georgi, for the detailed presentation. Now maybe Nikolai could share his screen for the question and answer session. And we have several questions from 12:05.
I'm not able to see the questions here.
That's interesting. So I will read them in this case. That would be easier. So we have a question from Robert. He's asking is the CoBuilder system like a relational database? Georgi, maybe you will
Wait, sorry, what do you mean by relational database? If it means that you can connect it to some other systems, then yes, it is. But I'm not sure I understand the question.
Maybe if Robert is online, he can participate, but I'm not sure. Okay. Then I will read the next question. Are the connecting grids the BSDD ones? I think it's a question regarding the grids, if they're the same as the BSDD has.
As far as I know, there aren't. It's a kind of a sensible matter. We used to have BSDD grids, but I don't think now that they are connected to BSDD.
Okay. So next question is, will the templates connect to the Building Smart IDS standard?
Yeah, this again is maybe part of a more detailed discussion about Building Smart. As for now, I don't know. I think
Okay.
not.
Okay, maybe we can take those questions for the more detailed answer to our R&D team, who is specialized into reading complex standards and also comparing the different types of technical capabilities. Another question, how many companies use the template now?
I don't know if we have a number actually, Nikolai.
No, I don't have that number, unfortunately.
It's if we think about it, there are a lot of companies in terms of we have associations, we have manufacturers, we have contractors that are using the systems in one way or another, software vendors, and so on.
So many applications
A
and
lot of
many templates are used by different companies and
yes.
or organizations.
Yeah, we have actually around 3,000 developed data templates, so they have a lot of application in the market so far.
Okay, thank you. And next question is the templates used mainly by architects or building companies? There is a specification. He was asking for the Xella template. Actually, Xella template is just an example that we have used from Xella with their participation. It was made for the demo. But we have other templates that are used by the clients. Okay, I will continue with the questions. I have arrived at is the templates used by architects or building companies? Maybe more generally to answer this question, who is using the data templates?
We're mainly building companies, I guess, but we're having more and more traction on how architects can use the systems. But as a whole, as I said, a lot of companies that are linked to the construction process, like manufacturers, use it as well a lot.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Peter Johansson. Having it that BSDD have the identifier using URI instead of the grid, how is the system connected to the BSDD?
Again, I have to say that this is something that I cannot answer right now. How connection with BSDD will be possible in the future. Maybe it will be part of our new roadmap, but now I cannot answer this.
Okay, we can see about those questions, those type of questions later on. Another question, does the product data template contain data, for example, different sizes or types of the example of Silca blocks, or the GTIN codes for even different packaging sizes?
If you mean that the data template can contain different kinds of properties regarding size or type, yes, you can build your data templates as you require based on your needs. So everything can be added in the data template so that it can carry the needed information later on. As for jetting codes, this is something that is currently integrated into GoBIM, and it's not part of the data template.
Okay, I think this was the end of the questions. Maybe our audience may have more questions. That's the moment to ask some more if something was unclear.
One question from my side, Markus Hesse speaking. Who is the owner of the data and where are the data are stored? So is it here on your servers or it's take care on the security of the data and that they are not be changeable without the influence of the owner of the of the original owner of the data?
Yeah, the data is stored into cloud actually. We have several servers at the ground, but I think they were in Norway and the Netherlands, but mainly in the cloud. As for who is the owner of the data is the content creator in the certain context. So if you create your own context and fill it in with start creating data there, it will be your ownership.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? Okay, I think the audience, one more question. Oops, sorry. There are several comments actually. So from Robert, if you don't provide connection to IDS, how are you otherwise connected to the building smart activities?
I will be happy to answer your questions as soon as I understand how we are actually going to be connecting to the building smart.
Okay.
But this is something maybe again for our research and development team.
Yeah, definitely. So question from Robert Christensen. If you have created a product in GoBIM, can you add any of the features a product has? Then I think you can add the values you know. Should I repeat? If you have created a product in GoBIM, can you add any of the features a product has? And then I think you can add the values you know.
If you mean that, can you add more and more information to a product? Yes, you have. You have to update the data template and it will appear as a possibility to add more information to the product. And then you can add the values you need. So this can be customized as well.
Okay, and another question. As per my knowledge, the PDTs from CoBuilder are not open for the industry. Accordingly, how can architects and companies use the PDTs and share them when working with the industry?
Good question. Actually, we are working on a new strategy on this, and pretty soon there will be official statement on how CoBuilder data templates can be used by such architects and companies.
Thank you. And Marcus again is asking, do you secure the data in GoBIM in any way? What if the user can't change the properties of a product?
Yeah, actually, the user who has some access to the GoBIM system can have changes in the product itself. Otherwise, it's only for review or extract or added to the Revit plugin or whatnot. But it is kind of secure for the people who have access to have changes of the product.
Georgi, I mean something different. If the user is using then the BIM file which you have created from this data, and then in Revit the data is used, then you can overwrite the data. Then you can overwrite the property without any problem. And this is something you need to secure because otherwise the value of the data is 0.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Okay. And one more question. Will be there exports to other formats than Revit?
Frankly, I don't know if we'll be having more exports for now, but for surely this can be added into the roadmap sometime in the future, depend on needs. What exports, for example, do you need except for Revit and, for example, the usual PDF and Excels?
Vectorworks.
Vectorworks, yeah. This can be analyzed and maybe in the future.
Or maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe we can do API integrations with different softwares that would allow to pull automatically the data from the data dictionary and data templates inside the solutions from third parties. Maybe you can explain a little bit about the API because it's a little bit complex question.
Yeah, the API is actually a very powerful tool when we are starting to build. Like I mentioned in my demonstration, we have cases where freshly new BIM systems are integrated with Define so that you can use the data template as a founding ground and on top adding more information. So this is a possibility.
Yeah, and I think currently we build this kind of integrations depending on the user cases, but this type of requests we kind of look at them case by case.
Yeah, an example there is what we do with Demolio in Denmark. They are working a lot with API to connect to different softwares.
And there was one more follow-up question, and I think that will be our last question for this session as we arrived at the time. So I'm reading from Robert Christensen. Follow-up question, does one have to refer to a document? I mean the length of a product, for example. Do you then refer to the technical data sheet? If this is to be translated into other computer languages, you probably need a source.
Yeah, so for on data template point of view, the referred document is not a mandatory thing, but we are focusing on data structuring coming from the standard. So yeah, we are referring to a technical data sheet in the standard, a table or list, you name it. So just the last part, if this has to be translated, maybe just a clarification from you.
If Robert can speak up. Okay, maybe he is not online. So if this is to be translated into other computer languages, you probably need a source. How do we translate to other computer languages? Probably is the question.
Well, the GUID is the translator to other computers' languages, so it carries out all of the translations. It carries out all the information coming from a property or a template. So you can you have the GUID, you have all the information.
He was thinking if you get the value via API and Revit, for example.
Yeah, you can extract the value via API. If it's a state of value coming from GoBeam as an actual product, there is a different API, but the process is the same.
Okay, maybe that is the end of our presentation for today. We are planning to have also other webinars on Define, so you can also join for the next ones if you would like to review the information, and we'll have other examples of templates. I'm giving the word to Georgi and Nikolai for the last conclusion. Thank you for everyone from me. Nikolai, stage is yours.
Well, then I will just say thanks a lot for joining, and hopefully this was a entry point to increased understanding of what the data template can do and what Define can do, and how we can actually help the industry move forward as a whole. So just thanks a lot for listening in, and just contact us later on if you want to talk further, maybe on your specific context or anything.
Thank you from me for joining as well. And if you have any more questions, I'll be happy to answer it. Just forward it by email or contact us in any way. And I'll be glad to help you as much as I can.
And thanks to our guests today from Building Smart. Anna, thank you for joining us. If you have some words, and Pavel as well.
Thank you very much. I saw some interest about the topic and about the connection between CoBuilder and Building Smart. So I understand that we can be in touch, and if the Polish participant have more questions, they can ask directly to me, and I will forward these questions to you, and maybe we can organize another meeting. That's my first idea, I would say.
Thank you. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, from me, just thank you, and looking forward for a future collaboration. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, guys. I'm going to close the session. Have a great day, and see you soon on other events from CoBuilder, Building Smart, or with our partners from Xella. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.